if you could share a little bit about what did you hear? Professor Premarajan talked about it being validated by CXOs. What have you been hearing from the industry, from CXO leaders about putting the spotlight on building CHRO talent for the future?
So 3 or 4 things that came from the CXOs. First is the business savviness in the CHRO. And this, while it has stayed in the last 20 years, I think it keeps getting more and more intense. And just to give you an example, I mean, one of the CHROs, when a newly turned CHRO went into a board meeting and the board member first asked him, so how do you, what kind of an org structure are you building, org design are you building in the next 2 years, which will bring your manpower cost per sales down by 10%? And this was like a bomb hit question on the first board meeting for a new CHRO. Similarly, there was a CEO who told us that I asked my HR head that why are you choosing 7% over 5% as increments for this year? And the lame reply was more in terms of, oh, my people will go away. Whereas what the CEO was looking at was, give me productivity metrics, give me figures, give me cost, give me people cost at a very, very granular level. Look at all ways in which you can look at getting gigs in, multiple ways in which we can build the structure and bring the cost down. So the business savviness becomes a very, very intense. The other day, Dr. Premarajan and myself, we were having a chat with Dr. Wayne Brockbank. And we said, what's going to change post-pandemic? And one of the things very interestingly he said was, the fundamentals won't change. The business continues to be at the center. The customer continues to be at the center. So we should not lose that. Within the business piece, also some examples, the promoter of a setup says, we have to move from a fine chemicals business to a pharma business. How quickly can you get me a CEO of a pharma business? As a CHRO, now you don't know that business. You need to quickly understand that business, and you can't just say, okay, I'll hire a headhunter who will get in that kind of a person. So a lot of these pieces are real practical things that are thrown by the board, by the CEOs and the CXOs. The second key piece is about building credibility with the CEO and the leadership team. To me, this is really the big one. And credibility is about balancing these multiple conflicting priorities. It's a very tricky role. It's a tightrope walk that one has to do as an HR head all the time. And there's a lot of influence and personal credibility that goes into the entire thing. And one of the things I've heard many CXOs say is that while HR people keep talking about bring the cost down, let's build a performance-oriented culture, but what's the performance-oriented culture within the HR function? There, you kind of come back when somebody throws a problem at you, you kind of say, chalta hai sir, kal dekh lenge, ho jayega. These things people don't want to hear. The CXOs don't want to hear these things. So the whole idea is, can you model the change within your own function first? Can you really build a cost-efficient structure within the HR function? How are you managing your own cost pieces? And more importantly, building allies and advocates to navigate through political environments. These are very, very tricky and practical pieces that any HR leader needs to do. One of the HR leaders told us that the person did an organization network analysis, and there they found out that the org structure which was there on paper and really the informal structure were absolutely different. And how do you navigate that kind of an environment? The third key piece we heard from the CXOs is about doing the tightrope walks. And there's a massive work that's there, and it's a lot about your own self-mastery, holding your nerve. The promoter, are you a promoter's his master voice or a her master voice? Or do you hold your own ground? Are you able to hold your own nerve in tough situations? Can you confront the CEO with uncomfortable truth? There's a business leader who is a very toxic leader but produces excellent results. What is your role as an HR leader to deal with that kind of a situation? If there is a non-performing CEO and you're working with the promoter setup, the promoter tells you, get me a new CEO. Now you're reporting into that person. How do you manage and navigate these tightrope walks? These are very, very real situations and very practical situations hitting our HR leaders on a daily basis. Also, the fourth piece is about digitization and strategic foresight is something that we heard from the CXO. And this is something which has 2 or 3 pieces to it. One is, as I said, the whole change, it's not about future of work, it's actually current work now. The future is here. It's already here. So the first thing is the way the artificial intelligence, machine learning, everything hitting us in a very, very sharp way. Half of the factories of Amazon today are managed by robots. It's not just about hybrid working. The HR leaders need to manage hybrid workforce. You need to, one of the new roles that was stopped in the HBR study was a man machine manager or a woman machine manager. Very interesting. So these things, while we used to feel we are more theoretical concepts, are all practical and they are coming and hitting us.